Hello, and welcome to a broadcast produced by Friends of Terry Virgil. I'm Terry Virgil, your host and the producer of this program. And today's episode is Warning Comes from UN If You Do Not Comply. Now, what does that all mean? Well, we know that the UN's been forcing its way into our society, free society actually. Well, actually, what was a free and independent society, whereby you can have the liberty to have freedom and liberty to do what you want to do. Well, recently I just kind of glanced at something yesterday. I didn't quite get all of it, but it talks about the sustainable development and Agenda 21, how they're trying to push this. Well, I was reading a point where it kind of gets a little disgusting here, and it deals with water and how to water cattle and stuff like that in case of drought. Well, for example, and I'm going to give you a great example of this, is the fact that the UN says that the cattle ranchers, in case of a drought, cannot drill for more water. They cannot take cattle over to, let's say, watering lakes or streams to water their cattle. They cannot even have water shift in or even collect rainwater. They have got to let their cattle die and be forced into mega cities because the UN says it's illegal to do any of that, and that's through their Agenda 21, and or if you want to call it the Sustainable Development Agenda under climate control. In other words, what the UN is saying, and this is what the communistic party of the UN is saying, the whole UN is communistic, let's put it that way, that, and this will affect you and I too, seeing that they are claiming that temperature is rising, there are more rainstorms, there are more snowstorms, that is not going to make a difference, that because of this, people are going to have to be forced to move into mega cities in order for the UN and government to control the people and control how things are done, and in order to control the climate. And believe it or not, that's supposed to start as of yesterday. Not yesterday being April 19th, but yesterday as of 2015. Now, I spoke about this before. Matter of fact, I got the archives where I could dig them up right now to talk about this one world government that the UN wants to bring about. They already got a religious one world government guru, and I'm using the word guru pretty clearly. I'm being nice about that one, and that is Pope Francis. And in order to look at all these things, you have to look at a couple of areas of, let's say, water crisis. We know that in Flint, Michigan, that they had the lead problem, now solved. But here's the other thing too that most people do not understand. Liberals like to come up with mythology, and the mythology of global temperatures rising, and they can control what the global temperatures are. Well, I'm gonna, and I hate to say it to the liberals, Democrats, communists, and socialists, you have no control over the environment. End of sentence. You have no control over the climate. End of sentence. You are not gods. And I said gods. I did not say a god. You are not gods. You cannot dictate to people how to live, where to live, who they are to live with in mega cities. And the UN says if you don't comply, you're going to be forced into them anyways. You'll be classified as a criminal. You will have to go to what we call re-educational camps. I read that before to you, and I know it. Most people just ignored it. Matter of fact, I had some people just tell me on the street to shut up. Because some people on the streets know that I do this podcasting and know that I come up with these answers and know that I do the researching. They say, well, and I've actually had one person say, well, if the UN comes up with that, no big deal. They'll just simply tell the UN that they're not moving and the UN is wrong. Well, that's great because I'm going to do the same thing too anyways. It doesn't matter. But to me, if you violate what the UN says, they'll just take it anyways and condemn everything and say you can't live there. Now, for example, I live on a lake with lakefront property. I also have a few things called a bird bath on my property. And according to Agenda 21, if there's water in that bird bath, they could say that it's a violation of Agenda 21 and I'd be forced to move because I'd be contributing to a bad environment for the animals and things like that. Well, you look at it this way: if you provide water for a bird to take a bath in or to drink out of, then what's the problem here? And that's a very good question. The other thing is, according to Agenda 21, it is illegal to have well water or a septic tank. Now, those of us that live out in the country like I do, I could see nothing wrong with well water and a septic tank. I grew up with that type of water system all my life and had a septic tank most of my life, I'll put it that way. There are times when I had city water and stuff like that, which tastes like crap, but we'll go into that detail later. Now, seeing that the UN really wants to get rid of septic tanks systems and well water because they feel that it's a lot safer for people to drink from city water and have the sewer systems that the city has in order to get rid of your waste material. Let's go back to Flint, Michigan with the lead pipe problem and the lead in the water, especially drinking water. Well, if it's supposed to be safer to have city water, why is there such a problem with water being pumped through a different and cheaper source like what happened in Flint, Michigan? Now, I understand that with this system, it's supposed to be safer. Where is it supposed to be safer and how is it supposed to be safer? Now, the other thing is, those people in Flint, Michigan, every one of those people down the road will have to move to a mega city. In other words, stack housing to look like Legos or something like that. And in all retrospect of that's forced migration into something a little bit bigger that is not better. Like, for example, I like to live out in the country. I like to be alone at times. It's great to be around what God created and to look at what God has created. Drink out of my own well. Get get rid of my waste material into a septic tank. And once in a while I have somebody come out and pump it out because it's getting full. Well, according to the UN, that's not safe. That's not a safe environment. To me, what do we need to do? Go back to the old outhouses? What about those? That seems to be pretty safe and pretty fair. Why not just pump and gather water right out of the lake or rivers? It seems to be pretty good. The animals drink out of it all the time. It seems not to be hurting them. But the UN warns this and says that here in 2016, and yes, I have seen projects where they're building buildings, stacked houses, buying up land in order to do this, in order for compliance. And say that if there's a water shortage, people cannot collect rainwater because they're not sure if rainwater is safe enough for human consumption. Well, I'm going to say it this much. Rainwater is fresh from the sky. God gave it to us to use to drink. And where do you think rainwater goes? It goes into our water supplies. And it goes into the ideas of being able to recycle into our systems. So rainwater should be the most safest drinking water around. Or if you want to use water, period, or even snow. If you're in an area where there's a lot of snow, people melt snow to use to cook with, to bathe with. I had a grandmother that collected rainwater just for her rinse cycle when she was washing clothes. So rainwater seems to be pretty safe out there. It's one of the safest sources. The real safest sources is also the water that comes out of the ground called an artesian water. Now, people would say, and that's the coldest and freshest that you could come up with. That would seem to me that is the best way to deal with such things. And let's talk about what the UN wants. Well, they want to save the environment. They want to save the climate. They want to control the climate. They want to control how it's done. They want to control the temperature and the warming of the earth. Well, you're not going to stop the earth from the polar ice caps from thawing. I guarantee you that. How do you stop that? You don't. Only one that can stop that is God himself. So what is the UN coming up with? This idea that people can't think of ways to do things for themselves? That's exactly what the UN is saying. The people have got to be controlled by the government. The government's got to control everything. And let's go back to when I spoke earlier about the cattle ranchers out in Colorado. If there is a drought out there, say that the cattle ranchers cannot use water such as from another well. They cannot use water from other sources in order to water the cattle. And here's why. They say, well, it's unsafe for cattle to drink. It might be full of growth hormones or runoff from manure or something like that. And rainwater is considered unsafe to drink. In other words, a pure source, pure water is unsafe to drink. Well, who's going to manufacture the water? Well, in all reality, according to the UN, the water's got to be shipped in by approved government agency in order